I'd like to welcome all of you back to Team Cyber Warfare YouTube channel. I'm No Clever Name, and today we're going to be discussing what weapons to use and the stages of the game. Now, the stages of the game can be broken down into different things: circles, number of people, whatever. Today we're going to give you the description of what we think the stages of the games are, which is your early stage, your mid stage, and your late stage. Now, your early stage is going to be, some argue the numbers. I would say the first ring closing, that early stage is the initial. Everybody drops out to the hot drops in Apex Legends, it seems like. So everybody's going to be dying kind of early. And after that first ring, you're usually down to about 10 to 12 squads left. That is what I would say you're entering the mid-range game. And we're going to discuss the weapons that you should be looking for or already have in your kit going into that mid-game. I'm also going to give you a couple tips and tricks on how to prepare yourself for mid and late game and presetting the weapons that you're going to be looking for. Now, the late game, you know, some people say in Apex Legends it's when the question mark comes up and you don't know how many people left. I say yes, that's late game, but that's like super late game. You should already have your kit ready for the fight. Late game, I would probably say when you're starting to get around 5 to 6 squads left, you should probably at least have one of these weapons in your kit. But I would recommend to have both. But I understand sometimes, you know, it just happens where you don't get them. So I understand that as well. Let's dive right into this. I will be talking about attachments, even though I'm in the training area. I will be discussing attachments with the weapons. If you're watching this, you've been playing Apex Legends, and you're just wondering what guns that we prefer in our kits at the time. So to start off with, we're going to start with the P2020. Like I said, this is an early stage. And also, I just want to point out real quick, if I say a late stage gun, that doesn't mean like run by it because you're in the early stage or mid stage. Let's not be dumb about it. Every class that they advance will work in any stage of the game. So if I name off a late stage weapon, that means that's great if you find it in the early stage. Like, that's like hitting the jackpot. You just scratched off the lottery ticket and won $100. Good job. Just keep that in mind as I talk about these. I didn't want somebody to run by like a 301 or something because, well, that's a late game weapon. I don't need that yet. That would be stupid. But anyways, the P2020 is one of the most common guns in any area of the map when you drop off. I don't care if it's a high tier loot area, no tier loot, I don't care what it is. The P2020 is going to be there. I mean, we've covered videos on it in the past, so we all know how we feel about the P2020. But you know, it does have a quick rate of fire. With nobody having shields or anything like that, you can put people down. You can kill people with it, so it's not a bad weapon, really. It's decent. The next one we're going to talk about is the alternator, which is your first. As you guys know before, fast burst, light damage. Again, no kits, no attachments, no anything. Now, if you notice in the alternator and the P2020, you can pick up like light extended mags, barrel stabilizers, butt stocks, things of that sort. And I would recommend, obviously, you want to pick up any attachment for any gun. It makes it better. But as you're picking up these attachments, think about what kind of kit you like to run late game. Whether it be a long range weapon in a close range, whether it be a heavy, a light, whatever it is. Think about your attachments now, because you can collect them through the game and just keep moving them to weapons until your late game. So when you do run across your late game weapon, you can put it together with all the attachments, have your badass weapon ready for that fight, and if there's still 10 squads left, you're going to get a very high kill game and hopefully be the champion. So keep that in mind. A lot of times when I'm running around early stage and, you know, you just drop down and you're running around and you're just picking up everything, I'll keep some attachments in my backpack. I might sacrifice an arc star grenade, which are piece of shits that blow up way too late in my opinion. I'll drop, if I got one arc star, I'll drop an arc star for a purple, you know, magazine, or a great sight that I might want to use that don't fit that weapon, or a barrel stabilizer or something of the sort. I'll actually take up one of my spots in my kit for future weapons that I'm going to get. Next, after the alternator, we're going to talk about the R45. This is a nice pistol. It has a super rate of fire. You get 15 shots. I mean, the accuracy on it's great. We've discussed this before. It's an awesome pistol, and it's very well into the early game. We're going to talk about the R99. Now, the R99 is a pretty good weapon no matter what you're trying to do. Early, mid, late game, this is an awesome weapon. Short burst. It's not very good range-wise, but it is very nice. Up close and personal, or with a little bit of distance. Now, the sniper rifle, if you drop down and get one, the longbow is the better early game weapon. It does a lot of damage with a slow rate of fire, so it makes it a better early game weapon because it takes 2 shots to down somebody because they're not going to have armor. So it packs that punch, and if you can hit them once, they're going to be running from you. It's just a nice weapon. Close range, you can see the accuracy even without looking down sight is fairly good. So it's a very good early stage weapon. If I'm running early game, I wouldn't mind picking up like a P2020 or a R45 and the longbow because, like I said, the damage it does. The Mozambique is everywhere at the beginning of the game. Me personally, I'd run past the son of a bitch and punch people. But I would consider it an early game weapon. It only has 3 shots, so you're going to be reloading it a lot. And I don't know. I always just run by the Mozambique unless I'm trying to do something or just having fun, talking shit. I run by it, but I would consider that a very early game weapon. The Prowler is a nice early game weapon. If you can get somebody in close quarters, say the bunker or something in a hallway. I mean, these 5 shots on this burst right here, that's awesome. And it'll do a lot of damage, and if you tap it like that, you've seen it just kick up, kick down, and kick up, and kick down. It's a nice weapon to have in an early game fight with a lot of damage. I mean, like I said, look at that. That's a lot of damage in just one tap of the trigger. So, close quarters, I kind of actually like the Prowler without any attachments to that. Without any of this, it is only an early game weapon, and I would still be looking to get rid of it out of my kit and to something different. The Devotion can also be an early game weapon because they don't have, you really don't need the rev up time because they don't have armor and they don't have as much health, so you don't really need the rev up time as much, so you can actually, you know, get a couple shots off like this and do some damage. I mean, look at that. That's 34 damage right there with just tapping it. So you do that a couple times like any other weapon. And it's a pretty decent early game weapon, and it's pretty common because it's an energy weapon. I usually find an energy weapon on every drop that I drop, no matter where I'm dropping. So the Devotion's a pretty nice weapon. Transitioning though into the mid tier. Now remember, those are the weapons that when you drop out of the plane, you're going to find most common. They're always laying around. You can pick them up all the time. Those are the weapons early game. Now moving into maybe not your first fight. There was a lot of teams there, so you had to break camp and, you know, find your next fight, pick up some loot along the way to the next fight. That happens sometimes. It's just better to run and fight another day than try to be there and die with, you know, Mozambiques in your kit. So if you break away, these are the guns that you're going to want to start thinking about, because by the time you make it to your next loot area, the ring's going to be pretty much closing, and a lot of players are going to die off that initial drop. Man, that just drops teams like that because everybody drops hot. So you want to start, a Hemlock is a pretty good mid-game weapon. The accuracy on this thing is phenomenal. The damage is there. You can see it without attachments on. You start getting attachments and popping on barrel stabilizers and magazines and butt stocks and things of that sort, you're going to get a lot of, you know, kills, damage, things of that sort. I like the Hemlock. Personally, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do. Off of the drop, you should have picked up some magazines and things of that sort. The Prowler going into a mid-game is still a pretty good weapon. Hopefully you can find the attachment and the select fire, turn this fully auto. Now when it's fully auto, this is actually a really good weapon, but I still only place it into the mid-tier range. I would not take this weapon into a late-game fight. The full auto switch makes this weapon like a whole new weapon, and just makes it a very good gun to fight with. The accuracy at range is still kind of off, but it's still a nice weapon. Another mid-range weapon is the Flatline, another heavy ammo weapon. It's a pretty good mid-range weapon. I mean, it does some damage, the accuracy's there. So the flatline might be something you're looking for. Again, it can hold the extended mag and the butt stock, and that's what I was talking about, maybe saving a spot in your kit for another attachment that might not go to this weapon. So say you picked up the P2020, but you got your heavy mag and your stock, and you come across a prowler and you're all good to go and it's mid-game, and then you run across a blue or purple barrel stabilizer. Well, you know you're going to try to advance this weapon, so you want to pick that up and keep that in your inventory and keep that spot, because it's not going to be that long before you find your late game weapon. I promise you. You'll either kill somebody and they'll have it, or you'll just dumb luck find it. But this gun you're going to be replacing anyway, so you want to keep the attachment for the gun that you want. But it is a nice weapon, especially with the select fire. And don't worry about, oh, well, I got the select fire, does that mean it's a late game now? No. Still drop it. Drop the select fire. Get rid of it. Now, besides the flatline, we're going to come over here to the shotguns. I know I haven't really talked about the shotguns much. We're going to do that now. The EVA 8 is the early game shotgun for me, personally. The rate of fire is just great with no shield on, so you don't need as much damage early. And that's one of the key things that I hope you guys are picking up on, is that you don't need a lot of damage weapons early. So, you know, when you're loot and you get some good weapons and you're trying to rush bunker, but your team's still, oh, I need to find this, I need to find that. The longer you're taking to find those things, you're giving the other players opportunities that are either finding those things as well, or you're giving them more opportunity to fight each other. And as he got a little bit of shit, and he got a little bit of shit, now he killed him, now he has some good shit, you're still trying to find it. They're always advancing ahead of you if you keep wanting to sit back and loot. Apex has kind of made the game where you want to get in the fight. I don't know if Apex made it that way, or us gamers have turned it into that. But we're always trying to rush for the next fight. So the longer you're taking to loot, and the longer you're trying to find purple shield or an attachment or whatever, the longer your competition is also getting stocked up. So when you find that one attachment, they might have found 5 other good things, or fought somebody and they had it for them. So my point is, don't waste time looting an area for a long time. Take the EVA 8, no barrels, no shotgun bolt to it, no ammo. It's a very good weapon early, mid game, but you want to be, if you find this bad boy right here, the Peacekeeper, you want to transition your shotgun into the Peacekeeper. Now if you can find an attachment, that's another item that I would take up a slot in my kit for the Peacekeeper, is the attachment to rev it up, to really give it the punch. Then it's good late game, mid game, early game. Peacekeeper's a shotgun that you want. It's a beastly gun when you can hit them square. So those are the shotguns. The EVA 8, don't get me wrong, if you can't find a Peacekeeper, can go into late game if you like to run a shotgun in your kit for late game. But the Peacekeeper is where it's at. That's just our opinion here. Now transitioning into the late game, the R45 can also be considered a late game weapon. And I know you're thinking it's a pistol, it does 15 shots, but if you had the purple magazine and the stabilizer and a sight, and you were up in the 20 shots range with this rate of fire, and that's how, oh, sorry about that. Let me drop some ammo and pick up some light so I can show you. With this rate of fire and the damage it can do with 20 shots, can even shred the purple or gold shield. Plus, look at the reload. And then switching weapons. These are the things that come into play in late game. How long does it take to switch between weapons? How long does it take for a weapon to reload? How much damage does it do? How much rate of fire does it do? That's why these are the late game weapons, because I feel like these have all of it. Like I said, with attachments, late game, it's not bad to run an R45. I wouldn't probably run it as my main, but a nice backup. So if you didn't have a shotgun, and say you had the next one we're going to talk about, the R301, and you're running out of ammo with the R301, you can switch and go straight to the R45 with no time at all and still be able to put out a lot of damage. It's like almost having a continuous clip. The problem with that is you're going to be running 2 light ammo weapons, and in late game I would advise against running any weapons that use the same amount of ammo, the same kind of ammo I should say. You just run out of ammo really quickly, and if you're in the last 5 fights, because everything's been looted there's no point in running around the map anymore. If everything's already been looted, and you're in the last fights, and you're running 2 small ammo, you know, you might get cornered down for a minute and have to duke it out. You're going to run out of ammo because both of your weapons are firing it up. And if you get both magazines, you're searching for the same attachments. I just don't prefer to run the same style of ammo in the game. Like I said, you just got to look for everything twice. So, unless you find it a lot. Now, we're going to go to one of my favorite guns in the Spitfire. This is look at that accuracy, and it's just chucking down. And when you got 65 rounds in your magazine, like, I get that it's slow to change weapons over. I get that it's slow to reload. But at that rate of fire, with the damage it does, at 65 rounds, the fight's going to be over by the time you got to reload or switch weapons. So, I mean, why do you not take 3? Like, this is my favorite weapon in the game, is the Spitfire. I've noticed here recently that it's been decreased. You don't find it as often, but if you do, above all other weapons, this run right here is the weapon I run. Now, I like to run the Spitfire and the 301 combo with the light ammo and the heavy ammo, different attachments, besides obviously the stock and the stabilizer, but you find more of those with different magazines, different ammo. It's a really nice weapon to run late game with, so keep that in mind when you want to get your kit at any point in time. If you run across a Spitfire, take it. Now, a pistol that is a late game pistol, and like I said before, medium, early game, this is a nice gun to have, is the Wingman. It does a lot of damage, fairly accurate. Yeah, they have taken away a little bit of the rate of fire, but not enough to really tell the difference. People are still running it. It's still a great hand cannon to bust somebody's ass with, so this is one that, especially when you start getting up in the shot range, you don't only have 6, but you're rocking like 9 shots. This is a nice gun to have, so this is a very nice late weapon to keep. The next one we're going to talk about, and the one that we haven't talked about, is the G-Scout. Now, why I said the longbow was an early weapon and the G-Scout to me is more of the late game, mid game weapon, is because early game you can do damage with less rate of fire and still be able to get kills. And with this, you have a great rate of fire but less damage. So I would prefer actually to have the G7 Scout late game, because you want that rate of fire if you're in a battle, because you want to do as much damage to crack their purple shield without them cracking yours. And as soon as they go to try to revive their energizer shield or whatnot, you're running in on them with, say, your Wingman or your R301 or your Spitfire. They're not going to have time to heal, and then you're just mowing them down, and it's easy picking. So late game, if you're going to run a long distance weapon with a short distance weapon, I would prefer the G-Scout for late game. And that's just my opinion, but that's how I would run it. Another late game weapon that we talked about earlier was the R99. Again, if you don't like running the shotgun, you feel like you don't have a good enough aim, basically, it would be the only reason you don't want to run a shotgun. You don't have good enough aim in close quarter battles, and you like to pray and spray like this, the R99 is a great weapon with a purple magazine, extended clip. You get more shots. It's a nice weapon to run at the end of it. Now, another and the last one we're going to talk about for late round, late game, last couple fights, is the Devotion. The Devotion is kind of like the Spitfire, as it holds a lot of ammo. The rate of fire is great. The accuracy, we talked about it. If you just pull it down a little bit, the accuracy is pretty good on it, especially for how much ammo it pumps out. And if you get the turbocharger where you don't have the rev up, I mean, this can be just as good, if not better, than the Spitfire. The problem is you're carrying around energy ammo the whole time. I don't really keep a spot for energy ammo. That's one of the things that I clear to make a spot. So I never really run the Devotion late game, but it is a late game weapon. As far as what I prefer, like I said, the Spitfire, the 301, the 301 Peacekeeper. If I want to do a sniper rifle, it most definitely will be the G7 Scout late game and the longbow early game. If you take the longbow into late game, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you probably want the G7 Scout. And that's the things that you need to be thinking about as you're playing the game. If you pick up a Peacekeeper and you get the attachment, I'm not set to having a 301 and a Spitfire. If I get a good late game weapon like a wingman or a Peacekeeper or something of that sort, and it's already decked out by the time I run across my Spitfire or one of the other late game weapons, I'm not gonna all of a sudden, oh, I gotta run those weapons. Some people do. I'm not one of those. I've given you a couple different options of late game weapons to build towards. You can go into the game thinking one mindset, but that changes with the complexity of Apex Legends, what it wants to give you. So keep that in mind as you say these are my favorite guns. Like I said, Spitfire is becoming very uncommon and I can't find it, so I haven't really been building up towards that. Just some things to keep in your mind when you're playing. Now, one of the ones I didn't talk about is the triple take, because I just don't like energy weapon ammo weapons. But the triple take, the thing that it is good about is an enemy that's running, say you're not good at leading people, so you get a little bit more of a variety when they're running across your map to hit your shot. But I just don't like this weapon, so I won't be taking it. But those are the weapons broken down by class and kits that you can run. The attachments, which weapons are better late game, mid game, early game. I hope you found this video helpful. Now I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to leave me a comment telling me what you want to see Team Cyber Warfare bring you to the YouTube channel. What you enjoy watching, maybe what you've enjoyed that you've seen, what you would like to see. We're building the best community in gaming, and it starts with you. So please share with us what you want to see so we can provide that for you. And while you're thinking about that and doing that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Ding the bell. That way you don't miss any of the new content coming from Team Cyber Warfare. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to continue to frag on. Until next time.